is our regular weekly market update, where we start in the US, cross to Europe and Asia, and end in Australia, and cover commodities and crypto along the way. It's a complex trading environment out there, with, on one hand, Trump's higher tariffs on imports from dozens of countries kicking in this past week, while results from tech were, well, emphatic. And we've had results from more than 450 of the S&P 500 companies. An estimated earnings growth for the second quarter was at 13.2% on Friday. That's up from 5.8% on July the 1st. Elsewhere, hopes of rate cuts in the US took a leg up, though a fresh look at inflation trends next week will test the US stock markets. And some investors, including Deutsche Bank and Morgan Stanley, are saying that equities are primed for a potential pullback after rocketing to records. So it's worth reflecting that the next 3 months tend to be the weakest for performance across the year. So we could certainly be in for a pause or even a fall. Remembering that the S&P 500 is trading at over 22 times its earnings estimates for next year. That's well above long-term average PE ratios, which stood at 15.8%. That's actually the highest valuation in over 4 years. The index has declined an average of 0.6% in August and 0.8% in September, the only months of negative average performance for the index during that time period. The combination of a softer payroll number with concerns of tariff-related inflation could be the recipe for a correction, especially in the seasonally weak third quarter. But overall markets had another up week, with the MSCI Global Index rising 2.52% across the week and up 0.54% just on Friday alone. The Stock 600 in Europe rose 2.1% across the week, while the US stocks ended higher, with the S&P 500 up 2.43%, close to new highs, and up more than 8% year to date. But actually, only a small proportion of mostly tech stocks are driving the rally. The Dow was up 3.13% over the week, while the Nasdaq notched a record closing high for the second straight day on Friday as technology-related shares, including Apple, gained and as investors were optimistic about potential interest rate cuts. It was the Nasdaq's 18th record closing high of 2025, with the index now up 11% for the year so far. The Nikkei in Japan shot up 1.85% on Friday, while the ASX 200 in Australia slid 0.28%, but was still up 1.68% for the week. That's ahead of the RBA rate decision next week.